beautiful people. Welcome back. If you're new, welcome. My name is Georgia, and today we are going to do a recap and a review of Love and Marriage Detroit, Season 1, Episode 9, titled You've Got to Come Back to Detroit. Okay, so you'll understand it later on as we go down with the review. So we start off, of course, where we left off last week, where the gentlemen are on the beach throwing the football back and forth, and we have Anthony tell Brandon that Lyrique is going to be a part of the showcase, that he's going to be a judge. We have Anthony telling Brandon, I have no issue with you. It's going to be fine. I still rock with you. Let's just get through the showcase and be done with it. Of course, you have Brandon saying, I don't want Lyrique there. I don't think he should be there. And at one point, you see Russell and Bravo make eye contact like, oh my God, here we go again. So with the back and forth between Brandon and Anthony, we have Russell using the opportunity to get some squats in because they're not throwing the football back and forth. And he doesn't want to stand around. So I believe eventually Bravo said that our wives should be back soon enough, and then we could go on with our day. So they were waiting for their wives to come back to calm things down so they could get away from it. But they didn't come to any resolve right there on the sand. We now flip to the ladies in the boat. They go out for a little cruise around on the water, and they're talking about families. And we have Christina telling Colby, it's time for you and Russell to have another little one running around. And Colby was like, no girl, one is enough. Let me handle this. She said, I admire the moms who have 3 under 10 or 3 under 5 or something like that. But as of now, one is all we're going to do. The ladies finally come back to shore and just, touch base with the guys. Like, you guys been good. You guys been talking, Is everything good? Of course, they're like, yes, everything is fine. But we all know that it's not. So now we cut to same night. They're getting ready for dinner. And we have Christina and Brandon in their room. And they're catching up about what happened for the day. And he said that, we need to hash some things out at dinner because still things are not resolved. He asked his wife, Christina, he's like, am I tripping, or do I feel like, I'm going through the same thing with Brandon that you are going through with LaToya? He's like, I feel like I have a target on my back. Is that how you feel? And she was like, yeah, you're not tripping. That's the same feeling I have. So they're like, all right, let's go and go to dinner, and we might have to hash some things out. And then we see them leaving the room, but you see Christina carrying a box. And I'm like, what's in the box? She got a cake in there, some treats or something? But we're going to find out about the box when we get to dinner. So we get to dinner now. Everybody comes together at the table, the formal table. And they have hired a private chef. LaToya has hired a private chef for the evening so that, they could just enjoy dinner. We have Anthony doing some content for Opulence Wine, where he puts the wine bottle in front of the dish and takes a picture. He's like, I'm just as good a content creator as Colby, so I could help my wife out if I need to. And then we have LaToya saying, I'll take all the content I could get because I honestly don't like doing content. But she was happy knowing that her husband was by her side. So now they're sitting down, they share their food and they're getting into it. And then we have Christina brings out what's called the situation box. So apparently this is not the first time that she's brought it out. So when I said she was leaving the room with the box, that's the box she had. And she brought it to dinner. I guess she used it before, but they must have cut it out of the scene. But she brought it in again. So the concept of the situation box is that you put in anonymous questions in the box, and then they go around the table. Somebody picks the question, and they go around the table and ask the question, and everybody give their input. So she asks LaToya to pick out the first question. LaToya reaches in and picks the first piece of paper, and the question on it says, how do husbands want wives to initiate sex? So of course that brought a little chuckle to everybody. I guess the conservatives ones at the table were like, what? So I believe it was Brandon who said, or was it Bravo? I think it was Bravo. he said fellatio is a good start. It's always good for a lady to initiate with fellatio. We like that because you guys soft and sexy, and for you to come on to us that strong, we love that. And then I think we have Brandon topping that off with, like, especially myself, Bravo, and Anthony need that because you ladies are beautiful beings. Somebody said, so what about Russell? And they were like, Russell is already a beautiful being, so he don't need that. He don't seem to be having any problems with that body he got going on there. So yeah, so they had a little chuckle, and they didn't go through the whole situation box. I'm guessing they did that, and then they cut the scenes, they chop and clip and throw what needs to be done on the editing room floor. They did not address the problem with Brandon and Anthony. I don't know if they did, but it wasn't shown there. And then the gentlemen were like, you know what, I'm tired. It's time for us to go lay down. They were like, you guys go ahead. We're going to go by the fire pit and have a talk. So all the ladies went around the fire pit. We have Latoya, Christina, Colby, and Lakita. I believe that's her name. Yeah, Lakita, Bravo's wife. So they all went outside, and we have Christina asking Latoya. She's like, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I'm feeling like you have an issue with me, and I want to know, what did I do? So Latoya is like, it stemmed with the fact that you have this situation going on with Colby, and then on top of that, you have another situation with Brandon, and then you have another situation with my husband Anthony. But she's like, but it seems like every time I have an situation, you always seem to think that I'm the one who is the bad person, when that's not the case. We just have a situation that we need to work through. And she said, going forward, I think it's best if you approach me as soon as something happened, and don't wait around and think. And then she went in the confessional and said the same thing. Then we have Latoya in the confessional saying a whole lot more with more conviction. And I'm saying to myself, why is it she didn't say all of this to Christina right there in front of the fire pit? Everything that she's saying in the confessional, she could have said to Christina right there. So, okay, they agree to chill, call a truce, move forward, do better, and let's move on and be friends and chill. All right. So that was what they came with the resolve. We have Colby and we have Lakita, kind of put a little something positive in there, and then the lady was like, I just felt that whole scene was fake, like not resolved, nothing came of it. So I don't know, we'll see if anything flares up back down the line. Now we have the main event of this episode, which is the no, before we get there, there's a lot more before we get there. Now we have Bravo and Anthony. This is after the girls trip. We have Bravo and Anthony, and they're meeting up at Bravo's lounge, and in getting ready for the men's movement, we have Bravo telling Anthony, I hope you don't mind, but I invited a Detroit native to come and speak at the men's movement, and it so happens that it's Marsau from Love and Marriage Huntsville. And I do remember him saying that he's a Detroit native and his father still lives there. So the reason why Marsau was asked to come and speak is that some of the aspects that the men's movement is moving towards is aligned with what he's doing. So he's a business owner. He has the Black Cigar Lounge. He has chocolate in a bottle, spirits, and he also has a contracting company. So three different businesses, but Bravo felt that it was good for him to come and speak. So he comes in, he's introduced to Anthony, and they talk about what's going on for the men's movement. And Anthony officially asks or invites Marsau to speak at the men's movement, and then that's where they left it. So it was good to see Marsau doing the crossover into Love and Marriage Detroit. Now we have Brandon and his mom. We already know that Brandon was mixed, so we get to meet his mom, and we see that his mom is Caucasian. It's his birthday, so he goes over to his mom's house, and he's like, they really don't do anything big for his birthday. She bakes his favorite cake for his birthday, and they go over and they talk and they chill. But it just seems like the exchange between them, or the interaction between them, wasn't as loving or as soft as it should be a mother-son relationship. So he goes in and tells us that it was rough on him growing up as a mixed child in a black neighborhood. And his mom was like, how you think I felt being a white woman in a black neighborhood? So now we know that his mom was white and his dad was black. He said it's after they divorced and his father moved out that he had a better relationship with his dad. But his dad passed away a few years ago. So he's really intent on making things better with his mom, having a better relationship. He says there's a severe lack of emotions when it comes to him and his mom. He says there's communications issues, and he wants to start therapy. So he tells his mom he's gonna start therapy, and he would she be open to doing therapy with him. She says, do you think it will improve our relationship? And he says he doesn't know, but he's willing to give it a try. And she said, okay, I'll give it a try. And they decided that they would do therapy together. Now we have Brandon and Latoya. It's the day of the men's movement. They walk into the venue and nothing is set up. There is no signage. The chairs aren't put out. There is no table decoration, no tablecloth, no nothing. And on top of that, there's no men's, as they say. So we have people coming in one by one. We have them walking in. We see Latoya's father was also part of the panel. And it was raining very hard. So they were worried that people would not come out. But 5 minutes before the actual event supposed to start, we have men walking in. So it's about 24 men, according to Brandon. They came in, and we have the men just standing around in a circle. We have Brandon read off what the mission of the men's movement is, and it actually makes sense. Can't remember exactly what was done, but it covers everything from family to employment to sexuality to just everything that a man could need help with. So then he asks his father-in-law, the bishop, to come up and speak, give a couple just to give a speech and to get things kicked off. And they took turns talking. Then he had like a symbolic chain at the end, like you have a link chain, and on each end they have like a circle. So he asked the youngest guy in the room to come up, and then he asked the oldest guy in the room to come up. He gave each one an end of the chain, and on the count of 3, they were asked to pull. So the symbol of that is to break the chain, to make sure that we're not going in the same circle, doing the same things that would not make them elevate. So I think it went really well for his first men's movement. Now the rain stopped, so now they're gonna do the walk. So they walking around the block, a whole bunch of men just walking down the block, around the block. There's no, according to Brandon, they didn't have no signs, they didn't have no chant, and he was just criticizing everything. At one point, Bravo said he saw more organization at his daughter's dance recital. But like I said, this was his first men's movement. It's going to improve as the years go on. And when they got back to the building after walking around the block or down the street or whatever, we still have Brandon saying he doesn't understand what the men's movement is about. We have Kobe step in and say, listen, it was really clear. Everything is on that piece of paper that you have right there in your hand. And I felt that it was a clear mission, and whatever you don't understand, you must not be able to read. Of course, that she's saying that in the confessional. She's not saying that to him, to his face. We have Anthony standing there looking like I'm about to turn around and punch this dude right in his face, because he was standing right next to Brandon. Then Anthony says to his wife, Latoya, how do you feel, honey? What do you think about the men's movement? She said, I am very proud of you. I see that you did well, even though it could have been a little bit more organized. The point was reached, and I see it getting bigger as the years go on. And I agree with her. It wasn't as organized as it could be, but it's the first one. There's always room for improvement. So that's where we left the couples as far as the men's movement is concerned. Now we have Brandon in therapy. It so happens the therapy is being done in their apartment. We have him and Latoya getting the place ready. Then we see mom come over, and then you can really tell there's a lack of emotion. She steps in, and there is no hug, there is no ear kiss, there's no handshake, there is no. We have Christina telling her, "You have a strong knock there." I'm like, oh my God. So now I see there's some tension there between the two. I really don't think Brandon's mother like Christina at all. Now we have the therapist come, and she knocks, and she's just standing there looking at each other. She takes a step forward, and Brandon still no move. So the therapy has to lean in for a hug, and she's like, "Nice to meet you. Nice to finally meet you face to face." And they get in, they chit chat a little bit, then they get into the session. And the therapist asks, "So why are we really here?" And Brandon goes in and says a few words as far, and then there is some that he said that he didn't feel supported or loved, and that there is limited communication. And his mom said, it's not like I didn't try. So the therapist says, "Tell me more." She goes in and tell where she was trying to communicate with Brandon when he was younger. And when she would ask the questions, he would just shrug his shoulders, put his thumb in his mouth, and roll over. Brandon asked, "What age was I at that point?" She said about 8 years old. So she said she kept trying and trying, and she kept getting the same responses or lack of response there is. So after a while, she just, stopped trying. So now he's getting an answer as to why there's not much communication there between he and his mom. I don't know if it's the same relationship with him and his siblings, because I think he does have siblings. From the photos that they show, I think there's one or two more kids. And she says she just stopped trying because she was just not getting anywhere with him. So I guess she just focused on the other two kids because Brandon wasn't willing to open up. And guys, that is where the episode ended. So I guess next week we're gonna get back into it and see where pick up where we left off with Brandon and his mom, and get to see, or maybe the therapist could dig in and see what she could actually do to help them as mom and son as far as communication is concerned. I believe next week we're actually going to see the showcase in action. We're going to see Lyrique meeting up with the group and interacting with Brandon. And let's see if the ladies actually are going to move past their little tiff. And the tension is still in the air. You can tell us what you want, but we see it. There's tension still in the air, and I'm sure we're going to hit this. We're going to circle back around and come to the stage again. But yeah, that was the main gist of this episode of Love and Marriage Detroit, Season 1, Episode 9, titled "You Got to Come Back to Detroit." So guys, I thank you for watching. Thumbs up this video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel for more reviews. And until next time, be sure to take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.